All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our St. Paul Learn with the League program, Trash Talk, Garbage and Recycling in St. Paul. We are excited today to find out what happens to your household waste once it leaves your curb or alley. I am Melissa Finnegan. I am a League member and program committee co-chair, and I'm going to be moderating today's conversation. We have a good rapport with SPNN and SCC in our online programs, so we thank them. And you can watch this program or previous programs in a created playlist on our YouTube channel. Just Google League of Women Voters St. Paul. This is a Zoom webinar. We're all hopefully very familiar with Zoom at this point. If you have a question during the course of today's conversation, please type it into the Q&A bubble at the bottom of your screen. And please forgive any occasional errors from closed captioning. To begin our conversation today, I wanted to share with you a couple of positions from the League of Women Voters of Minnesota regarding waste management. So the League of Women Voters does support measures to reduce the generation of solid waste and to ensure safe treatment, storage, and disposal. It also supports state governments taking measures to reduce the generation of solid waste through research and development of alternatives to sanitary landfills. So our conversation today, what happens when you throw something away? We are going to hear from two experts who manage that magical place that away becomes once your garbage is picked up from your bins and is sent somewhere else. What happens? And we're going to start with some data. I'm a data junkie. I love data. So this is some information I pulled from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency about just how much waste we generate in the state of Minnesota. So annually in Minnesota, we landfill over 2 million tons of solid waste. Another 1 million plus tons is incinerated for energy. We do manage to recycle about 2 million tons, and then about 795,000 tons are composted. So those are organics that get sent to composting. So from a statewide picture, it's hard to imagine how much waste that is, but it gives you an idea of the volumes. And narrowing it down a little bit, if we're looking at just Ramsey County, you can see our landfill number is significantly lower. Only 73,000 tons are landfilled, but 247,000 tons are incinerated for energy. And I know Trista is going to get into that. 161,000 tons are recycled. That's what Katie will be talking about. And so far, about 80,000 tons end up being composted. Solid waste in Minnesota is a really integrated system. You have private companies, you have local governments at the county level and the city level, all working together to manage different parts of the system. There are parts that are focused on hazardous and special wastes, and you can send hazardous waste to pickup facilities in Ramsey County. There's extensive outreach and education happening at especially the county level, but also the private industry level. And we're really focusing on what's called Minnesota's waste hierarchy. And we've all heard the top three: reduce, reuse, recycle. And they go in that order. We want to reduce the amount of waste that people generate first. Then we want to encourage reuse of items, recycling of items, composting and waste to energy. The least preferable of all of these is landfilling. It makes no sense to take our commodities and bury them in the ground for future generations to have to manage. So I'm excited now to turn it over to the Executive Director of Ramsey Washington Recycling and Energy, Trista Martinson. Trista leads efforts to turn trash into resources while also protecting public health and the environment. She has an extensive background in county government, nonprofit leadership, and also some military history. So Trista, I'm now going to hand it over to you to tell us about what R&E does.
Thank you, Melissa, and thanks to the League of Women Voters for having me on today, and for everyone who's participating. It's a really great opportunity to talk trash with you all. You want to move to the next slide? As Melissa said, I'm the Executive Director of Ramsey Washington Recycling and Energy. We joke that we're a secret government agency, but it's not secret. We are an organization, a government organization that is formed by a joint powers agreement between both Ramsey and Washington County. The counties purchased our facility 10 years ago, so we're having our 10-year anniversary, but the facility has actually been running and serving the two counties for 40 years. When the two counties purchased it in 2016, the intent was to not increase throughput of waste, but to do things differently and really focus on that processing, pre-processing, recovery, to change the way that we look at waste in Ramsey County and Washington County. We really see ourselves as an extension of public health for the two counties, because if waste isn't processed, people do get very sick. History tells us that. We also have a member of the MPCA and a member of the City of Newport, where we're located on our board. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we're located in Newport, Minnesota. If you don't know where that is, it's just down the river from St. Paul. We border St. Paul on the river. That's the 694 part of the freeway you can see in the photo, and we're right on the river. So we're kind of scrunched between 61 and 694. Oftentimes you won't even notice that we're there. We do process all the trash for two counties. We do that through an ordinance called designation, which means that all waste must come to our facility. And I say waste, not recycling. Kate will cover the recycling part, because you have two bins. Recycling goes someplace else. And what goes in your garbage bin comes to our facility. Our goal is to not put anything in landfill. That is our biggest goal, and to move things up that waste hierarchy that Melissa said. On the waste hierarchy, they're kind of all just stacked on each other, but there really is a huge gap between landfill and refuse-derived fuel or waste to energy that you may be familiar with as far as environmental impact. We really do work to move things up the waste hierarchy. And because we process all the waste from both counties, that's a total of 14% of all waste in Minnesota. So you think about that, includes the state capitol and the state fairgrounds. That's a lot of waste that comes through our facility. Next slide. So garbage is logistics. It is a lot of moving parts, and I'm sure you all have been familiar with previous conversations in different communities around organized trash collection or other things. And I'll tell you, it's because there's a lot of moving parts. Right now, just for our facility, if you see these lines, we currently have 5 transfer stations where haulers that are from northern part of Ramsey County or Washington County, that they drop the waste at a transfer station where it's consolidated and then brought to our facility for processing. We also have 150 trucks a day that direct haul into our facility. And then I send 70 semi-trailers a day down to Red Wing and Mankato with that refuse-derived fuel. So what's left over after we've gotten all additional recyclables out of the waste, that would go to those two facilities. Our compost, our food scrap collection that's happening in about half of Washington County right now is going to Shakopee in the future, and I'll talk more about this. All food scrap collection for both counties will go down to Shakopee, to DEMCON, to our anaerobic digester. So it is a lot of moving parts. We have lots and lots and lots of trucks that are moving all the time. Our goal is to reduce the number of trucks on the road, in addition to that reduction of landfill, because we want to make that impact on CO2. Next slide. So it is really important to us as we make decisions, and as our county commissioners who serve on our board make decisions about what's next. What do we invest in next? Because again, our ultimate goal is to not send anything to landfill and to move everything up the waste hierarchy. We study what's in our garbage. So we have these waste compositions that happen quarterly, that we actually go in and open up garbage bags, and we assess and we weigh and we measure throughout the facility. And this is what's in our garbage. These numbers haven't really changed percentage-wise over the last 10 years. So we know that most of what's in the garbage is organic. So we're talking food scraps, maybe your dog litter that's getting picked up. So things that are organic. And then, stuff that maybe can't necessarily be identified or characterized makes up 21%. Paper, plastics, metals, construction debris, glass are still really high numbers in our waste. And all of those things can be recycled prior to ever coming to our facility. And so if we think about what is going into the recycling bin or taken to the environmental centers or other places, there's still a ton of opportunity to get even more out of the waste stream, which we do at R&E prior to making what's left over to refuse dry fuel. Next slide. So this is a really busy slide, but what this tells you is that we do mechanical separation. And I think Kate's got some slides to show you what that means, but we have large machines that do most of our separation. So we drop trucks, they dump on the tip floor. We have front end loaders that are pushing things into conveyor belts, grapple cranes and robots, and eddy currents, different equipment that's been around. This technology has been around for 40 years. Is working on removing additional recyclables. As I said, we get all the ferrous and non-ferrous material out of the waste stream. The counties have also invested about $50 million in the last 10 years into the facility to be able to get even more out of the waste stream, to include our organics. And here in the next year, we'll also be getting number 1 and number 2 plastics in addition to those organics. Next slide. And we really are proud of the work that we do at Ramsey, Washington. We create jobs and support the local economy. All of our trucking, all of our shipping, our partnerships with recycling companies, all of our maintenance is done locally. We are a union association with IBEW, so we have 65 union jobs. We have 120 employees total at the facility. So we really are an economic driver of the community, and especially in Newport. But our environmental impact or our non-financial impacts are even greater. And really it is that we divert 85% of the waste that comes in is diverted away from landfill. As Melissa showed slides earlier, there's still 70,000 tons going to landfill. And that's what keeps us awake at night, because we know, I'll just say it, I think it goes without saying, but landfills are bad because water always wins. No matter how much you line it, how much you put in, we know that we have toxins going into landfill, and eventually it's going to reach our water stream. And that's what we need to prevent. We need to really focus on how do we reduce those landfills, and not only that, but clean up landfills. State of Minnesota has spent about $500 million on landfill cleanup from previous landfills, and that's only going to continue to rise if we don't take care of it now. Our goal is obviously increase recycling. We recover additional recyclables out of the waste that is wrongfully put in the trash can. And then what's left over, we take and turn into clean energy. And it is truly clean energy, and happy to answer any conversations or questions about that as well. But the PUC has definitely identified that waste to energy is clean energy. It's a much lower life cycle analysis than that of landfilling. And we know landfills emit not only methane gas, they also emit CO2, and PFAS gases are being released from landfill, where waste to energy actually destroys PFAS along with other toxins. So that's really our goal, is we are focused as an environmental agent. Next slide. So in 2024, these are old numbers, but and we've only gotten better in 2025. That will be released here in the next month or so. But we managed about 400,000 tons of trash through our facility, and we were able to recover another 13,000 tons of metals. That's both ferrous and non-ferrous, so aluminum cans as well as metals that go into the trash. And we produced enough waste to energy to power 13,000 homes. And we're really focused on that lower number, which is the CO2 avoided, and avoided from going to landfill, which is the equivalent of about taking 23,000 cars off of the roads. So those are the numbers that we focus on, and the reason we do the work that we do. Next slide. So how do we do it? Well, we have two ways. We say we kind of have two sides of the business. So we have a plant As I mentioned, that's mechanical sortation and the work. And that's about half of the work we do. And then the other half of the work is in our programs. And this is really focused on upstream. This money to fund these programs comes from the 2 counties that they help us fund our programs that we manage. And you may not heard of Biz Recycling. We work with businesses to provide technical assistance and grants to change the way they're doing business to reduce their waste stream. So we do everything from buying bins for nonprofits, businesses, churches, schools, to make sure that they're recycling in the right bins and that they have a recycling program to be picked up. But we also give larger grants, like innovative grants. For instance, an example would be if you've heard of Vikings and Goddesses Pies, we gave them a $50,000 grant to produce a biodegradable freezer bag that their pies are then put in. So that way they have no waste that will go in the waste stream that goes into the recycling or organics bin. We also worked with a kombucha company in St. Paul that was producing kombucha, putting it in aluminum cans, but then wrapping it with a plastic wrap label that makes it more difficult to recycle because you have to remove that plastic label. Machines can't do it. And so it was causing issues. Plus, it cost them more money to do those 2 things. So we worked with them to be able to print their marketing right on the aluminum can, making it 100% recyclable. Also, if you read the Star Tribune, there's a great story in the Star Tribune today. One of the things we're working on is construction and debris removal and reuse. And so we provided a grant as people are taking down old buildings, or even if you at your house are doing remodeling, you can get a grant from us directly to reuse your materials in your remodeling project or recycle those materials appropriately for upcycling in your own project. So we work really hard. Our goal is to work the plant part of our program out of a job and move things upstream. We are also the biggest funder in the state of Minnesota for food recovery. So that is, again, food that maybe is coming off of market shelves or might be coming near its expiration date. We actually fund programs in the community to recover that food and redistribute to make sure that people are getting the food they need, but also that we're reducing it from the waste stream. So we're looking at innovative ways to really do that upstream work. We are also funding the mattress recycling program and now the new bulkies program in St. Paul. So mattresses, if you don't know, are 99% recyclable as long as they don't hit our tip floor first, where they're too contaminated to recycle. So wherever you live in Ramsey County or Washington County, please go on our website. It will tell you how to recycle your mattress. In St. Paul, it's actually a free pickup. They'll come and pick it up from your home and directly recycle. So it never has to go in the waste stream. So mattresses, we've rescued a lot of mattresses over the last couple of years. So it's a great program and we keep moving up the waste stream. Batteries, we do a lot of work around education, around what to do with sharps, what to do with batteries. Please don't put them in the garbage, take them to the environmental center. It's for safety of our workers and to reduce fires as well. Next slide. So the newest program that isn't in St. Paul yet and is coming to St. Paul at the end of 2026, so stay tuned, you're getting information ahead of time, but it's not quite there, is our food scrap pickup program. So right now, if you collect your food scraps at home, you have to take them to a compost site, a community drop-off site, to be composted. But by the end of this year, you will be able to receive green compostable bags in which you can put your food scraps in. They're different than the bags you're getting right now from those compost sites. They're much more durable, but again, still compostable, but thicker, so they hold up. And you'll be able to put all your food scraps in that bag and then just throw it in your normal trash can. So green bag, green or brown trash can, put it in your trash can. And then we will remove those bags from the waste stream through our mechanical recycling. And those bags will go to be composted and eventually to our anaerobic digester by the end of 2027. So as I mentioned earlier, food scraps comprise of over 20% of your household trash. So think about that as you went to the grocery store, you bought 4 bags of grocery and 1 bag you just threw right in the garbage. It's a lot of organics, and we need to get that out. Organics is really good because it produces gas when it decomposes, that we're going to be able to capture that natural gas and put directly into the pipeline. We also opted, it's different than if you were to live in like Hennepin County, where they have an organics collection program, where they would have a separate bin for their organics. You'd go outside, you'd have a recycling bin, a trash bin, and an organics bin. We opted not to do a separate bin in Ramsey and Washington County, and we did that for a few reasons. It was really about equity. We wanted to make sure that every household was able to participate in this food scrap collection. So if you lived in a apartment building, you wouldn't be able to participate in a program that had a separate bin, but now you can, because all you have to do is get your bags and throw it wherever your normal trash goes, and we'll take it from there. It's also much cheaper to provide bags to the communities as opposed to bins that we have to maintain. And we didn't add any more trucks to the roads. Organics trucks in other places are dedicated trucks. So you got one more truck coming to get your organics, maybe a larger route. We didn't want to add any more CO2 to our roads. So it goes in the already existing trash truck. So next slide, and you'll see some pictures of how the robots separate. So again, this is a conveyor belt. All trash is pushed on that conveyor belt. And then these robots, through AI, can see the green and identify the green bags. And they're able to pick them up. They put them in a chute. They're separated. They currently go to an industrial composting facility in Shakopee. And then in the future, they'll be going to an anaerobic digester. So next slide, we'll talk a little more. So what's an anaerobic digester? You've probably heard the term. I'll just say it is a very large industrial cow. So imagine food scraps goes into to our digester or to our cow. It goes through a series of 4 stomachs in which it is decomposed through digestives, and then it creates what we call digestate or compost on the back end, a wet compost. At the same time, while it's being decomposed, it's releasing gas. So we're capturing that gas and we're putting it directly into CenterPoint Energy's pipeline for natural gas to, again, power our homes, power and heat our homes. The digestate that's coming out the back end, because we have things like PFAS and PFAS in our system, we know that when we have digestate from a process like this, it actually has higher concentrations of those bad chemicals and components. So we have opted, unlike most digesters, most of them stop there and they'll use that digestate for maybe coverage on landfills or putting in our ditches when we have road construction. But we have decided not to do that because of the existence of those toxins. We are actually putting it through a secondary process called pyrolysis to make something called biochar. So imagine now we're taking that wet digestate, looks like compost, we're putting it into a kiln, high heat and pressure, no combustion, in which it turns it into charcoal, small pieces of charcoal. That charcoal is the same charcoal that you would find in your Brita water filter or in your home filtration system on your refrigerator or your water line. It can be used for water filtration or for soil amendments. It doesn't have any nutritional components in the biochar because it's all been destroyed by that high heat and pressure. What was also been destroyed is the existence of those toxins. So we have actually tested this process with our organics and our digestate through a pyrolysis. We've sent it to 3 separate labs across the country with the same results. In that high heat and pressure process destroys all PFAS and PFAS, along with other, mercury, lead, all the other kind of toxins that we test for have been destroyed through that high heat and pressure process. The really exciting part is that we've then tested the biochar that comes from this process, and actually it could be used in our wastewater treatment. That PFAS actually sticks to it through a secondary process or in soil amendment. So it would be a way to remove those toxins from our existing stream. All of that from your garbage or your food scraps that we'll be collecting. So please sign up at the end of the year. More information will be coming to your homes via postcard and social media. By about July 6th, you'll start seeing how to sign up and how to participate for the end of the year to collect your food scraps in St. Paul to make renewable natural gas and destroy PFAS and other toxins, as well as creating a product that can be used to clean up our environment. So next slide. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. I will just say before I turn it over back to Melissa is that if you ever want to come take a tour, we run tours all the time at the facility. I promise you, you will enjoy it. It's a great opportunity. You can come, you can bring your family or another group that you might be with. Just go to recyclingandenergy.org/tours and you can sign up. We also have a virtual tour that goes in depth on our website if you want to learn more about how we do our work. Back to you, Melissa.
Great. Thank you, Trista, for sharing with us what happens to our garbage and what could happen to our garbage after it leaves our homes here in St. Paul. And next, we're going to talk about the recycling bin. And so I am pleased to welcome Katie Drews. She is the co-president CEO of Eureka Recycling. Katie has been with Eureka since 2021. She's led the development of their tour and community engagement program, as well as system integration strategies. And she has a extensive background, and we're excited to hear from her. So welcome, Katie.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? I'm going to
Yep, you're just fine.
Oh, okay, perfect. All right. Thank you so much for the introduction, everyone. Lovely to see and meet you all. Katie Drew is the co-president and CEO for Eureka Recycling. We're located in Minneapolis, Minnesota here. I also get to serve as the national director for a group called the Alliance for Mission-Based Recycling. There are 4 mission-based recyclers who are a part of that group, and we have facilities in California, Colorado, us in Minnesota, and also in Michigan. And I also sit on the Reuse Minnesota board as well. So doing a lot of work out there. Next slide. Thank you. So Eureka is a 501c3 nonprofit. We're a zero waste organization and really a mission-based recycler. We're located in Minneapolis, and we've been doing this work since about 2021. We serve the Twin Cities and some surrounding communities through recycling operations, education. We do a ton in the policy and advocacy workspace, and it's really all grounded in the belief that waste is actually preventable. We provide recycling collection services to more than about 100,000 Twin City residents. And then at our facility, we're sorting about 100,000 tons of single stream recycling annually. So we're serving residents of Twin Cities, greater Minnesota, and even in eastern Wisconsin. So at our core, we are a zero waste organization. We're really dedicated to reducing the need to extract materials from the ground and keeping material in circulation so we don't have to keep extracting material. And really part of the manufacturing supply chain, we're creating something that will eventually be turned into something new. And while also using our operational experience to push for solutions that reduce the need for costly or ineffective waste management systems. Next slide, please. So we use our view from the pile to talk a lot about how recycling can address some of the global waste and plastic crisis issues. And then we also talk about where recycling just doesn't cut it, where recycling isn't part of the solution. And it's definitely part of this solution, but it is not the end-all be-all solution. And so we use these insights to advocate for and help design for upstream solutions that really prioritize, we talked about this already, the upper end of the zero waste pyramid. or hierarchy. So those things are like reduce and reuse and then recycle. But we really believe that how you recycle matters. So first, I'd like to talk about our team, our staff, how we recycle. We provide all of our team is full-time, fully benefited employees. We only really have temporary or contingent employees when it's a recruitment strategy. We're trying to staff up. So we'll bring on temporary labor just to hire them full time. Um, and really, for us, safety is a core value. We operate in one of the eighth most dangerous industries. And so, how we operate really, really matters to protect the people who are doing this work. It's essential work. We are providing an essential service. And so we want to make sure that the people who are doing this essential work are protected, are cared for, and not done to the detriment or on their backs. We also use our view from the pile, um, sorry here, to advocate for systems that better support a zero waste economy. So we do a lot of this work through working on things like EPR, or extended producer responsibility, that passed in 2024. And we have been working, my co-president, Miriam Holsinger, is actually on uh, um, the advisory board for EPR, works with county, works with other folks in business and across other nonprofits to make sure that this law really helps to shift the responsibility or the onus of what happens to something at its end of life, a product or package, is really on the folks who made it, and so that it's not on all of us who buy packaging and buy something and aren't buying it for the package or buying it for the product. And so we really are trying to build a system that gets material back into use. And then we also want to make sure that the highest and best use is used when we are considering where our material goes to at the end of the day. We want to prevent resource extraction and support the local economy. And so we know that when we ship things out to parts unknown, um, uh, we don't really know what happens to those things. And so we want to have visibility to that. So for us, again, we know when we get the most economic and environmental impact when we keep things close to home. So next slide, please. We last year, this is a graph from last year. Every year we tabulate how much of our material goes to where, and then we share that out. So 50% of our material stayed right here in the state of Minnesota. 96% of it stayed in the upper Midwest, and 100% of it stayed in the Americas. So you can see if you were with us last year, you would see that this changes year to year. We used to have a paper mill in St. Paul that was really convenient, and that paper mill shut down. But last year, we were able to report out that 75% stayed in Minnesota. So it does change a little bit, and we always make sure to keep multiple end markets kind of around so that we can, if that ever happens, we're not stuck in a situation with a whole bunch of material. Next slide, please. So this is our material recovery facility. It's pronounced MRF. And I'll take you on a quick little tour. And I wanted to show you really how recycling works in all of you who live in St. Paul then, all of your material is not only picked up by Eureka, but it's also sorted at our facility. So we do all the residential sorting and processing of material. So you will actually get to see how your material is processed here through these videos. Next slide, please. So what we accept at our facility are the following: aluminum, so your soda and beer containers, beer cans. Also steel. I'm sorry, I'm having a weird glitch on my Zoom. Okay, there. Steel, so your soup cans, and vegetable cans, those are all accepted. Glass is all okay to put in your blue bins. This includes anything that contains or once contained a consumable item. So you don't want to put things like household glass, like your window glass, car glass, or even if you went to Target and bought a candle, that kind of glass cannot come to our facility. They have different melting points. And then all of your paper, cardboard, that can all come to our facility as well. So cardboard from your boxes from shipments, all of your junk mail, newspapers, magazines, the paperboard boxes from the different food items you buy as well, all can go onto your blue bin. And then we also take milk cartons and juice boxes. That material is fiber on the inside, and then it's smushed together by 2 layers of plastic. And so we'll send that onto the paper mill. They'll pulp this for a little bit extra to get that fiber out. And then that will go on to be recycled. Then we also accept 3 kinds of plastic, and you'll see those here. We often say, so I love you in sign language looks like this, and we say, I love you recycling. We accept 1, 2s, and 5s. That's a handy little reminder there. So number 1, PET is your single-use soda and water bottles. Number 2, HDPE. Oftentimes your milk containers, laundry detergents, soaps, and stuff like that are a little more durable and rigid. And then also number 5, polypropylene can be taken. These are tubs that often contain dairy products, sour cream, cottage cheese, things like that. Those can all come to our facility as well. Next slide, please. But what we don't want to see in our facility are these following things. And I think Krista touched a little bit about the batteries. One of our more problematic materials is plastic bags and things like garden hoses, electrical extension cords, and lights, holiday and decorative lights. So these things, and I'll show you in just a little bit, can come into our facility, wrap around our equipment, and then it hurts the sortation process. We need space in our equipment in order to have things pass through. And we'll actually need to cut these out, and I'll show you a little bit of that here in a second. Anything like hazardous waste or that once contained hazardous waste should not come to our facility either. You can go onto your municipality's website or your county website and find out where the closest facility is to you to take those things. Same with big metal pieces, scrap metal, things like car hubs, tire hubs, and lawnmowers and stuff like that. You would be surprised. People often look at me in shock and think, oh, that doesn't come to your facility. We see this stuff every day. These are pictures actually from our facility that we've received. And then right there in the middle section, you'll see 2 different kinds of lithium batteries. Lithium batteries pose a really significant threat to recycling facilities due to their ability to catch fire or even explode. So the big ones that you see up at the top there, they might be on a handheld power tool, rechargeable, battery. But then they're also come in the shape of those little button batteries. Sometimes you find that in a greeting card when you open it up, it plays music or it has lights on it. And upon impact, these kind of batteries can actually combust and explode and spark. And when you can imagine how much paper comes into a facility like ours, it's a really significant danger, and it halts operations, can actually burn down facilities. So I'm going to knock on all the wood that our facility remains safe, but it requires a ton of extra equipment on our part and insurance, costly insurance, that really make recycling very challenging and very expensive to residents like us. So keeping these out of the recycling and waste streams are really important, and why we also work on something called battery EPR, which is, again, extended producer responsibility, but finding putting more accountability on the folks who create these to make sure that they're safe for use, they're safe in our environment, they're safe for waste management and getting back into the system. Next slide, please. So this is usually when we do this is for our tour, but this is just an overview shot of our facility. Next slide. So recycling really starts at collection. So I'm sure all of you in St. Paul have seen our minty green trucks come by. We grab your cart and we put it into our truck. I'd like to take a moment just to talk about this automated side load. You can see here that a driver does not have to be outside of the vehicle. There's no second collections person who needs to be accompanying the driver. This is a very safe operation, and we transitioned to this this kind of operation several years ago. And what we've noticed is that our insurance rate has gone down because of it, because we have fewer accidents. Again, we're in like the seventh or eighth most dangerous industry. And so this kind of technology actually helps keep our workers safe, and it helps keep costs down. Because again, we only need one person driving this truck and operating the vehicle. Next slide, please. So all of the recycling that comes to our facility, all the material gets weighed coming in, and we also weigh everything that goes out when it's all packed into a bale. We want to know how much material came to our facility, and we want to know how much of it went out as either trash or material that's going to get turned into something else. Next slide. All of that material comes into our tip floor. It gets dumped. It's called a tip floor because our trucks lift up and tip up and discard all of that material onto the ground. We pick that material up scoop by scoop and feed it into the process to begin sortation. Next slide. So this is our pre-sort house, and we all of our material coming in, we don't know what goes in there. A lot of people do engage in wish cycling. They don't know, so they throw it in there and hope to the recycling gods that it is recyclable. And sometimes you just don't know, and so people throw their stuff in there. But all of that dangerous stuff comes in, and so this process, we're engaging in what's called negative sorting. Our folks are actively trying to pull out the material that we don't want in the facility or that we don't want to move along because it will clog up or damage our equipment or our process. Next slide. So all of that material then coming out of the sort house is going to go over these big rotating sorting screens. And you can see there's big discs that are attached to a long shaft, and they're rotating pretty quick. So when I talked about those things that we call tinglers, like plastic bags and garden hoses, those things can actually wrap around the equipment. And then the things that need to fall through, like the smaller three-dimensional items like cans and bottles, all of that, it can't actually flow through the gaps in that equipment. What we're hoping to do here is have the larger, flatter things kind of skim over the top of those discs. And what this one is specifically doing right now is trying to get the big flat pieces of cardboard out of the stream so that the smaller things can then go on for further sortation. Next slide. So here's just a continuation of that. Everything that fell through those gaps between the discs and the shafts are actually going through a repeated process. We kind of call this shampoo, rinse, and repeat here. And each one of these you can see is sorting different material. Again, we're just trying to separate flat things, the two-dimensional things, from the things that have shape, the three-dimensional things. Next slide. And here is that look. You can see in between each of those gaps, there's stuff wrapped around the equipment. We actually have to have folks get in. We have to shut down our equipment a couple of times a day. And our team has to go in and cut that material out. And it's not easy to do that. So as we always advocate for getting those materials out of the stream as much as possible. Next slide. So this is our large paper optic, and what you're seeing here is that beam of light is actually shining down, kind of as like a laser looking for very specific things. And what it's doing, it's going to use a jet puff of air to push away anything that is not paper, and it's going to have two lines of material coming out of it, and you'll see that in the next slide, please. First of all, I'm going to show you, this is plastic bags that have actually been removed from uh, the paper line. So the paper line is seeing things that are flat. It's where we've identified through the sortation screens before, anything that is three-dimensional and anything that is two-dimensional. So in our paper line, this is where you're going to see all the plastic bags and flat pieces of film, things like granola. You buy it in those zip top bags, but when they're empty, they're flat and they engage just like a piece of paper would in our facility. Next slide, please. So here is more of the plastic bag removal. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah. So this is with help from the MPCA. We received a grant from the MPCA, so this is one of our optical sorters. This is identifying paper from non-paper items. So this optical sorter this one is the one actually that is doing the dual eject. So anything that's paper will go down one pathway, and anything that is not paper will go down a different pathway. And then the next, you will see that. And it's using that same near infrared technology. It's reading the material in real time. You can see that beam of light shining down on it. It's using a jet puff of air. It'll push some material further and some of it will just fall straight down. And so here you're seeing things on the left. These are things that have dimensionality. So containers will be on the left-hand side, and things that are flat without dimension will be on the right-hand side, and that will go on to our paper optics. Next slide. These are our metals. These will actually go through our facility. You'll see non-metal material in here too, but all of that material is going to go into our facility coming off of the left-hand side of the stream that you just saw. All of those containers will go through, and there's going to be a large rotating magnet that'll rotate all over this material, and for our ferrous material, it'll pick that up and get that out of the stream and deposit it into one of our bunkers, and that will be all of our steel items. Next slide, please. And then for aluminum cans, it'll go through the eddy current. So inside there, what's happening is there's a large drum, and it's rotating at a high speed, and it's creating a repellent force. And so when aluminum interacts with that force, it's actually pushed away. And you can see right here at where the video has paused, you can see aluminum kind of popping up and over, and it'll be collected over that sortation line, and everything else is dropping down below. Next slide. So here's our plastic optical sorter, and this is trying to read number 1 polypropylene, so your soda and water bottles. The thing I like to point out here, again, it's using that near infrared light. It's using the small jet puff of air. So if you've ever got a beverage in a container and you didn't want it or whatever, you forgot about it and sat in your car for a long time, make sure that you dump that out, because that small puff of air might not be strong enough to get that material up and over that line. Next slide. And then we're back inside again. So this is our main sort house. Again, all of these folks are full-time, fully benefited employees at Eureka. And we have if not the longest, one of the longest tenure tracks in our industry. Folks come to Eureka and they stay at Eureka because they are truly cared for, they're paid well, their safety, again, is a value. And they're, they're given an opportunity to develop and grow as employees. Our MRF manager, senior MRF manager, started out as a sorter and has been with us for 20 years. She's celebrating her 20-year anniversary this year. And is just a lovely human. So here you'll see in those video clips, you saw people grabbing things and kind of flicking them. They're doing a positive sort now. So in the pre-sort house, we did a negative. They're doing a positive sort where they're finding all the material that we want to keep and getting it out of the stream and into bins that are like-minded or of like the same material. Next slide, please. And the last step in our process is glass. So this is our glass. And if you were go all the way back to the beginning of the process when you saw the very first separation screens, and I talked about we're first trying to get the cardboard out. If you are at our facility, I'd have you remove your earpiece and listen because you would be able to hear the clinking of glass. So we're intentionally crushing up our glass in the beginning of the process to get it away from the rest of the material so it doesn't contaminate or get lost in other material. And so all of this glass is now heading to, if you move to the next slide, you will see it's heading to our glass separator outside of our facility. And so inside this glass, there's still going to be a lot of fine materials like bottle caps will be in there, fine pieces of paper will be in there. So number one, we always encourage folks to leave their lids on to the material. It has a better chance of staying with the material it needs to or getting collected in the stream. But especially for your plastic bottles, keep those attached. Something like a PET water bottle, for instance, it'll go on to its next phase of recycling at a plastic reclaimer. They're going to take that material, they're going to shred it up, they're going to submerge it in water to clean it. The material from the plastic water bottle will actually sink while the material from the cap will float. And so they can actually sort those and send them on to be recycled. So keeping the cap on is always a great idea. And then here in the glass, again, we're going to crush all that up. It's going to come out in small little bits and pieces. And we're going to send that on to a glass beneficiator. We're really lucky we have one in St. Paul, about 6 minutes away, where that material will go through its own optical sorters, and they can actually separate out the clear, the green, and the amber, which is really amazing. A lot of it will get turned into fiberglass insulation, other containers as well, medicine containers, food containers, all different kinds. That is the last step for our material. Here quickly you can see our material actually does get turned into things. Often people ask, so your number one PET will go back into clamshells, it'll go back into water bottles, and sometimes it gets turned into carpet. The number two HDPE, this is high density polyethylene, and this will get turned into more than likely other durable goods. Once you put a colorant into a material, you really can't extract it back out. And so this is one of the things we really work on with brands and in policy to make sure if we can have cleaner, clearer material, it can be recycled better and more over and over. But once you put a colorant into it, it has to go into a durable good. And so that's not technically recycling. So we always advocate for clear materials without colorant added to it. Next slide, please. Here's just a breakdown of our average bale weights. People often think this is interesting, and I'm happy to share this out. I think I'm probably way over time actually. Next slide, please. So thanks so much. Yep.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Trista. Trista, if I can have you turn your camera back on, we had some questions come in while you both were speaking. And we're going to start with a little bit of a lightning round because a lot of it was like, where does this go? Where does that go? So First question is frozen food containers, trash or recycling?
Oh, I can answer that. For the most part, you can put them in the recycling. A lot of times they have a plastic coating on them, but most paper mills can actually process them. They'll just process them for a little bit longer to separate the fiber from the plastic coating.
All right. Paper towels and napkins, organics or trash?
Organics.
Organics. There we go. Pet waste, organics or trash?
Trash.
Ah, too bad.
But the little part is that we will separate that later and it will still go to anaerobic digestion. It just can't go to compost. So it will be covered in that organics collection later, but just put it in the trash. We'll take care of it.
All right. What about large appliances? Are those recyclable?
No.
Well, they are not at the recycling facility. There are places that take large appliances and then they deconstruct them and separate the materials, but it needs to go to a separate. So don't put it in your bin. But if you call us or look on our website, we'll tell you where to take it.
All right. What about the debris that's coming? I know CVS is taking down a couple of buildings here, one on Maryland Avenue and one on University. Is that debris going to R&E or where is it going?
No, that's construction and demolition debris. It has a separate process. So it may go, hopefully they're doing the right thing as industry and they're recovering what's reusable and putting it for reuse. Otherwise, there are separate landfills for construction debris. It does not come to R&E though.
Okay, good to know. I remember as a child, you get the Campbell's soup cans and you'd have to take the paper off before recycling. Do we still have to do that?
You do not have to do that. No, you don't have to take off the paper. You don't really need to clean it out. I always recommend, I like to remind people that real life human beings interact with your material. And so we want to keep their work environment as clean and safe as possible. So a light rinse is always appreciated. For peanut butter, if you have a dog, let them lick out the remnants is my hot tip. But the labels or the little windows in your envelopes, those don't need to be poked out either.
Okay. Shifting to things that have been in the news and on people's minds lately. I know, Trista, you mentioned PFAS. What can we do about PFAS in our waste stream? Or is there a reduction of PFAS on the horizon as things change?
Well, policy has directed in Minnesota that certain producers can't use PFAS anymore in the production of materials. So that's going to help a lot. There's still things that will have PFAS. On the back end, we're working. That's why we do so much research to figure out what can we do with the waste stream. Again, we want to move everything up the waste stream first. But as a last resort, we do know that waste to energy, because of the high heat application in incineration for the extended amount of time, has a 99.6% destruction. So not perfect, but 99.6% destruction of PFAS in waste to energy. And then anaerobic digestion with the secondary process of pyrolysis has a 100% destruction of PFAS. So we are deciding the technologies on the back end to continue to destroy PFAS, but we also are working on the policy side, just like Katie is doing on the policy side on the front end, to say, stop producing things that are toxic or harmful to our environment.
All right. Katie, I think people were a little surprised when they found out about different melt rates for glass. I know I feel guilty about every glass candle holder I put in the recycling now. Is there a future where glass will get numbers like plastic does?
Oh gosh, that's an interesting question that I've never received before. I don't know. I don't know. I can actually go look. I can talk to our glass folks and see if anything like that is in the works. I've
Would that be
never been
helpful?
asked that before. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So can I just add to the glass conversation? Melissa and I have actually traveled the world looking at different processes and recycling, because we're always looking to see what else we can do. In Europe, glass is recycled and separated in every community by color. So there's clear glass, green glass, and amber glass is the way it's separated because of those different melt temperatures. It's mandatory recycling in Europe, so a little different than the United States. But glass is actually the only material that is 100% recyclable all the time, and it can be recycled infinitely. So our goal would be to use more reusable glass containers and get away from plastic altogether, and you reuse them at home.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, we are at time. I got one question, which is, what is something for both of you that our listeners can do at home to make things easier for your guys at your facilities?
I would say definitely you get a recycling guide sent to you from the county in partnership with Eureka. Make sure you read it and you know what can go in the recycling bin. Even at our facility, our goal is to get you to recycle in the right bin. Recycling is valuable based on, quantity, not contamination, cleanliness. It's more valuable if you do it the right way. We try to recover what's left over at our facility, but it's not as valuable. So read that recycling bin, know what to put in it, and please don't put anything like batteries or propane tanks in any bin.
100% agree. I would also add that it is really difficult sometimes to know what is recyclable and what's not, what you should put in which bin and all of that. And industry has made it really difficult for us to know what the kind of constant and perpetual production. There's no checks and balances on it. So the thing that you can do that is actually the most impactful is to engage in policy work. Eureka works with the started the Zero Waste Coalition, the Minnesota Zero Waste Coalition. You can join as an individual, as an organization, if you really want to help move the needle towards systems change, instead of always having to be up on everything that is new with recycling and waste and all of that. Change the system so that we can have accessible, equitable access to recyclable, reusable materials and infrastructure.
Excellent. Thank you both for your time today. I hope everybody who joined us appreciated our program. Our next program is going to be on Sunday, May 31st at 1 p.m. We're talking about a timely issue, mining near the boundary waters. What could possibly go wrong? And we will be hearing from Ingrid Leons, who is Executive Director of Save the Boundary Waters. So please sign up and join us for that program. And then if I can get my screen to go forward here. The League is fully committed to its nonpartisan nature while educating the public on candidates, as well as promoting reliable and secure elections for our country. For over 100 years, we have studied issues, we have taken positions, and we have taken action. So do please check out our website to learn more about membership in the St. Paul League of Women Voters. We welcome new members throughout the year. So please do give us a try. And again, thank you to our speakers, Trista Martinson and Katie Drews. And I hope if this program interested you, you will consider checking out the websites for their facilities and going to take a tour. And we also want to thank our partners at other League of Women Voters in Ramsey County. And thank you very much. Have an excellent afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.